So what we're going to do is we're going to go over, once again, setting type, expanding the type. We're going to talk about like how to make the die line. And we're also going to be jumping back and forth a little bit between Photoshop and Illustrator, because we're going to be using our tools like in the most effective way possible. So I am going to typeset here, and I should probably clean up my screen. So I'm going to go and go Window, Workspace, and I'm in tracing. I'm going to reset the tracing just to kind of clean it up a little bit. And I will get this stuff out of the way. So let's type in so let's do kind of a funny typographic thing. So I'm going to look up here and I'm going to try to find like a more decorative, crazy looking font, maybe a 70s looking font, which I think I downloaded one earlier. Let's see, and what's cool is it's given me my preview. So I'll do something like this. So there's my type. Now to make changes to the type, to adjust the kerning or the spacing between letters, or the leading, the spacing between lines, I can do that a couple of different ways. The first way is I'm going to go to my window. I'm going to open up my type window, and there's character, paragraph, etc. Let's go with just type character. And when that opens up, I can, using my options over here, I can adjust the size, obviously. I can adjust the leading, 72, that's going to be too tight. So another way that I can adjust leading is I can highlight it and put in a number. So I can make it 80, or I can put my cursor in this field, and using my up and down arrow keys, I can increase or decrease the leading. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And maybe one of the other things that I want to do is I want to decrease some of the spacing between, I want to do the kerning, the spacing between the letters. So I'm going to grab my text tool and I'm going to select all of it. And I'm going to, well, there's two tricks. One is I usually set this first thing, the tracking, to optical. And what that does is, and with a decorative font like this, you're probably not going to see a lot of difference there. But let's go back from auto to optical. You see that it did tighten it up a very little bit. Hopefully that's showing up on your screen. But also, if I wanted to adjust spacing between individual letters, I can grab this A. Like if I think and I'll zoom in just to make this a little more visible for you. I'm going to select this A, and if I think the space between the A and the Y needs to be decreased, I can do that manually by selecting the A and then moving right over here, which will adjust our tracking individually. So I can make it -100, -50, whatever. So, or -25. So now I'm kind of in the right area of where I want to be. Another thing that I can do when you're dealing with type, for example, what if I wanted this to be italic or italicized, leaned over? Well, this particular font doesn't have an italic, I don't think, yeah. So, well, how do you have an italic when there isn't one? Well, underneath the rotate tool is the scale tool. You guys have messed with that. There's also the reflect tool, which will turn it backwards. But there's the shear tool, and the shear tool will push something over. So for example, while I have the shear tool selected, I can grab it and I can do that, right? Now, normally what I will do is, because you have to be careful, because when you shear it, you can also do this, which, and actually, I'll be honest, that looks pretty cool. But what I want is to kind of like lean it. So if you want to move it in one direction, either horizontally or vertically, you can hold down the shift key. So by holding down the shift key, I'm only going up and down this way, or if I hold the shift key, I'll only go side to side, right? So I actually do want to go, I'm going to go this way with it. I think that is going to give me what I'm looking for. Now, as always, as I've mentioned to you guys, and by the way, it's still type. I can change it, I can adjust it, I can do whatever. I hate typing. So on the off chance that I may mess this up, I'm going to make a copy and paste and move this over here so that if I do something, I don't have to type this in again. I don't have to do it all over again. I'm just keeping it on my literal desktop over here. So now what I want to do is I want to do the part where I'm going to expand the color. Expand the outline. Now, normally I wouldn't do this in just black. You know, I'd add some 70s colors and things like that. But right now we're not focused on the coloring. We're focused on the structure of it. So I'm going to go with my type, with my selection tool. I'm going to select my type, and I'm going to go type, create outlines. Okay. And I know that we've gone over this again, but it is kind of a difficult concept, so I don't mind like redoing it. So now that it is outlines, I'm going to make another copy, and I'm going to paste it and move this down here. So while it is type, I'm going to open up my window stroke, and I'm doing the bottom part now. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the stroke on this. Trying to make it thicker. Now I'm going to stop. We'll stop right there. So again, this is still type. I mean, if I change the point size, you know, it's going to change. I'm sorry, it's not type, so I can't change the point size. Look, nor can I change spelling errors or anything like that. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So what I want to do is I want to go Object, Expand, because as you see, like when I click on it, I can't click here. I can't click on the edges because Illustrator isn't seeing the edges. Illustrator sees this shape with a stroke on it. So, but I don't want that. I want to expand it out. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to go Object, Expand. Now, the default is going to be expand the fill and expand the stroke. That's what I want. So I'm going to say OK. And if you look, and in fact, I'll go ahead and make a copy so we can play with this for a second. You see a bunch of different shapes because it expanded the fill and the stroke. So for example, if I grab my direct selection tool, I can select this area, just the line, just the stroke that we had. So for example, I can grab these with my direct selection tool. Whoops, I didn't grab it all. You see what happens, but technically it's still split up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and just get it out of the way. So what I want to do now is, so that I can do my next steps, I want to merge it all together. And I do that by going to use my Pathfinder, which is over here. And the first Pathfinder selection is to unite. It's going to unite everything that you've stacked up on top of it. So it's all united. But, and this is why I did this font, and this is why I'm showing you this. This is going to be distracting. Having these weird white spaces. So for example, if I come in here and I make this type, let's say, if I make it white and I put it right in here. These shapes are distracting. The beauty of it is, since this is all now one shape, I can come in here with my direct selection tool, and I'll zoom in, and I can select just this shape by clicking on the line somewhere, and I can hit delete twice and get rid of it. So delete once gets rid of the section that I've selected. Delete again deletes the whole shape. So now I can get rid of that. And I can get rid of this one here as well, but I want to be careful. I want to make sure I'm just selecting that with my direct selection tool. I'm going to hit delete, delete. And so now when I come over here, it's filled in. It's not distracting. It's not like in the, the same, it doesn't have those weirdo empty spaces, and which is especially helpful if I want to do something like this or like this. you know, just kind of make it a little more trippy looking, right? Now, the other thing that I can do is if I had this type, and I wanted to create my outline, I don't always have to have it. Your die line doesn't have to be like that. In fact, this would be probably a little problematic, having these tiny little bumps in the bottom. So I can always come back here and I can select with my direct selection tool, I can select that point and delete it. I can select that point and delete it. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to straighten it out a little bit. And that's not too bad. I mean, I guess I can also come here and I don't know why. I don't know where that line is coming from. Oh, I do know where that line is coming from, because this point just ends right there. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this point and I'm going to drag it and join it in to this point right here. And actually, I'm going to do that. Or I could select these 2 points and I can go Object, Path, Join. I don't know if, I can't remember if I've showed you guys that. Not super necessary, but now it's all together. And when I come back here, now this is all right. I should probably get rid of this point right here. And now that's working pretty well. So that is not too bad. I think I still need to get rid of a little point. But so the other thing that I wanted to show you is you could draw a rectangular box like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangular box like this. And I'm going to take these 2 boxes. This is the second way to do a die line, and I'm going to join them. I'm going to align them together on the bottom so that they're aligned, and then I'm going to punch them together. Okay, and now it's one shape, and I can make the corners rounded like this and have a little fun with it. And with my direct selection tool, not my selection tool, but my direct selection tool, I can grab like these 2 points, and I did that by clicking and dragging over just those 2 points, and then I can move them. And I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard. I'm going to use my right arrow key, and I'm going to move that over like that. And I'm going to grab these points, and I'm going to move them over like this. And then I'm going to grab just this point, hold down the Shift key and grab this point. Oop, that should have moved over, but it's okay. I can grab this one by itself and move it over. And I can move this one over and do whatever. Now, there are a couple of weird parts, and I can fix that by either moving this way, and I could also move this lever and adjust it like that. And I can move this lever and adjust it like that. And if I wanted to, I could grab these 2 and move them in. Again, I'm using my keyboard, and I can play with this and put it at the right angle. So that's another way to do it. So any questions about those so far? Wait a minute. All right. So I'm going to show you the third way to do it. And this is a way that you haven't done before. And I'm going to use Photoshop to do it. So I have Photoshop open. I'm going to grab this shape. It's not type. I've converted it to outlines. I'm going to say Edit, Copy. All right. Then I'm going to come to Photoshop. And I'm going to say File, New. And it should actually, when I say File, New, it should make it like the right size. But I'm going to go and make sure my resolution is 300. And I'm going to create. And then I'm just going to go Edit, paste. And it's asking me if I want to paste it as a smart object or as pixels. I'm going to paste it as a smart object. And I'm going to scale it down a little bit. And I'm going to move it right here. Now this is a little complicated, so I need you to follow along with me. So in Photoshop, we have the Magic Wand tool. And with the Magic Wand tool, as you know, we'll select areas of similar value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the black. In this case, it looks kind of gray. I need to make sure that I have contiguous off, and I select there, and it's selected all the black. So as of right now, I have all my letters selected in Photoshop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that selection, and Photoshop can expand the selection and can make the selection larger. So I'm going to say select, modify, modifying the selection, and I'm going to expand it. So by saying select, modify, expand, Photoshop is going to ask me, well, how much do you want to expand the selection? And you can expand it by 2 pixels, 20 pixels, whatever. I'm going to see what 30 pixels looks like. Oh, that's too big. So I'm going to undo it, and I'm going to go select, modify, expand, and we'll try 20 pixels. Still a little big as I'm getting to the end of the document there. So I'm going to go select, modify, expand, and let's try 15 pixels. That looks about right. So you're wondering, like, why did I do that? Because I'm going to make a new layer, and then I'm going to fill that section in. I'm just going to fill it in with black. So I'm going to turn this off. You guys can see my dotted line, and I have that. So I have that shape, and now I'm going to go edit, copy, because I have it selected. And let's go back to Illustrator. So now I'm in Illustrator. I'm going to say edit, paste. And it's a little small, but that's my shape. Now the reason why I have that shape is so that now, and this is something new, I'm going to say image trace. You'll notice that when I have this selected, watch the top of my screen here. When I select this, because it's pixel based, this changes up here. And I'm going to click on image trace, and it traced it automatically. And what that means is Illustrator saw the image and it has traced over it as good as it can. Now this works really well because it's just black and white. If you traced over like a photo, it has varying results. But I'm going to say expand. And when I've expanded it, I can come here with my direct selection tool, and I can delete these white areas. So why did I do all that? I did all that so I can flip it around. Instead of having a black fill and no outline, I'm going to have no fill and a black outline. And now I have an outline shape of my sticker. Now, obviously, I didn't need to do this for Stay Groovy because it's type. The type is pretty easy to make an outline. But if you had something like a drawing of a figure or something that was like more unusual, basically this is good. Now, also you're going to say, well, that looks kind of dumb. And we talked about this yesterday. You know, your die line would be kind of weird. So one thing that I can do is I can come in here, select that with my eraser, or my scissors rather. Well, let's erase. Nope, let's not erase with that. That's too small. So I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut and delete that and delete that. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to cut again. select this, and I'm going to cut and cut. Get rid of that. Get rid of, whoops, not get rid of that. Get rid of this and this. And now I'm going to take my pen tool, click on that point, click on that point, and join them together. And now that makes more sense from like a sticker standpoint. So that's several different ways to make your die line. Or you could just draw it. But if you're going to draw it, I would use the pen tool and try to be relatively, you know, accurate with what you're doing. This is not accurate, but because I can't see. And once I've drawn this shape, I can go through with my direct selection tool and I can move things around. I need to calibrate my Wacom tablet. Anyways, so you see that? All right. So, and that's it. That's all you have to do to make your die line, and also to adjust your spacing, and also to delete unwanted spaces into a joined object. So, and that's it.